What's going on, folks? I'm just relaxing here on a Sunday, and I hope everybody's having a good weekend. I haven't been on here for a while. Life has been busy, very busy, and I think for a lot of other people as well. Life is, well, it's life, right? And we've seen a lot going on, a lot around us going on, a lot happening and developing over, the months. And I wanted to take this channel into a direction, but I'm just going to be candid. I think I'm going to be candid and see where this goes. Right? I know a lot of people, they have an agenda. They have an agenda, and a lot of people are very disingenuous, I think. And a lot of us listen to, and I'm not saying me, I'm not saying you, but us as here in America, listen to, I think, the wrong things, paying attention to the wrong things, rather, and really not paying attention to ourselves. And I implore anybody to look inward at themselves, and not be so fixated on the world outside. What's going on outside, what's going on in the news, these types of things, but concentrating on yourself. A lot of people would say, well, I don't know if I can do that because I don't know if we're going to be alive in a month's time. But you can't control the future. You can only react to the future, okay? And that's the thing about it. You can only react to life. You can't control your life. You can be a participant in your own life if you choose to. Are you going to participate in somebody else's agenda? Are you going to be a participant in your boss, his life? Are you going to be a participant in your father's life, your brother, whatever the case might be? Or are you going to participate in your own life? And that's one of the most important things, participating in your own life. A lot of people are living vicariously through others. There's YouTube, and there are other platforms that people have and make videos for. And a lot of these people are rich, they have beautiful cars, they have a beautiful life, they have a beautiful house. And so it garners a lot of attention from people. And you have a lot of people subscribe to these individuals. But I would argue a lot of these people don't have these things in their name, but they have access to these things because of you giving them attention. And what I would implore you to do is stop doing that. Stop doing that and paying attention to your own life, because you can create something more beautiful for yourself, okay? Not for somebody else. I think that's a large problem that we have these days in society. Moreover, the United States of America. We do this a lot. Our attention is currency, and they get it. Believe me, trust and believe, they get their attention. And as long as you're giving them attention, they will absolutely exploit it for as much as they possibly can, for whatever they possibly can as well. So I think what I would like to call this video is, you are imprisoned from yourself. And think about that. You are imprisoned from yourself, from who you are, from living your life. And we also tend to intertwine our lives in our identity into what we do professionally. Here in the United States, it's a toxic version of that, whereby you go anywhere. Maybe you have a family function, and there are friends of your family, and there are other people of significant socioeconomic standings in the society, and they ask you what your name is, what do you do for a living, where do you live, Have you ever been to Florence? These things. And it kind of develops an environment where people are very, very dependent on establishing themselves before other people. You know, Machiavelli knew it best because he said, the one person that is a threat is that person that doesn't need anyone's approval. Okay? You are self-actualized. And that's very important to be. Self-actualization is a very important aspect of living a meaningful life and a fulfilling life, because you're fulfilling your own life, your own destiny as well. That's a very important thing. A lot of people don't think about and don't realize the importance of that on a deeper level, because it's thinking deeply. It's going deep within inside yourself to find who you are as a person, for yourself, not for anybody else, but for yourself. We go on with life, just floating through life, wondering what the meaning of it all is, asking that question, consulting books, consulting whoever. And they say, well, that's a good question. They might give you some advice. And it might be good advice, yeah. But you're not speaking to yourself. You're not taking walks into nature. You're not considering what's outside yourself is a relation and a reflection of what's inside you. Looking deeply, introspection is one of the most fundamentally important things that you can do. Now, at any point in your life, especially if it's at the latter point of your life, at the latter point of our lives, we tend to do a lot of introspection. We tend to do a lot of reflection on our life and to understand it. But we also are very impulsive in the way we behave and very reactionary, because society's kind of programmed us to be this way. Here in America, a lot of people looking outside look at us and think we're very distracted. Very distracted here in the United States. Because I think so. And that is a nice way of putting it, because they're not saying that we're stupid. They're not saying that we're ignorant. They're saying that we're distracted. But if you go outside this country and you look in, I think you could understand that is a very accurate assessment. And that is a very respectful assessment as well. We tend to look at other countries and we tend to say a lot of disparaging things about these people. Well, look at who is the president of our country right now. And right now, at this point, it would be Donald Trump. And the things that he says about other countries are allies. And it's not a very encouraging thing for a leader to say. Whether or not you believe it or not, whether or not you understand it and you think that it's valuable, what the president is saying. But I would try to caution you against thinking that way and behaving that way. Because we need to build bridges to our neighbors. And we need to live on this rock together and understand each other. But from what I know of these countries, you know, somebody that's a leader gets up there and he starts regurgitating this bilge of these people not being as good as the United States. I wouldn't compare two cultures to the other, and I wouldn't favor a certain aspect of this culture over the other. Not before these two cultures, and argue with these two cultures, because there are many comparisons and contrasts. but try to understand these people and try to appreciate them. And that's the way. That's what you want to do. That's being a good ambassador for your culture, not saying something brash or disparaging to anybody, but try to build relations and rapport with different people from different cultures that live a different way, right? And try to, celebrate both of you, in that way. But we tend to look at other people and say, oh, you're this, you're that, and the other. And nobody wants to hear that they're terrible people, right? No, absolutely not. You want to talk about good aspects. But that's what we usually do when we are fixated on what's going on outside ourselves rather than what's on the inside. I like to go to different countries and I like to immerse myself in these cultures and understand these cultures rather than look at them like they're some sort of cryptid, some sort of, alien being that is just horrible and that's too different from me. So you must be wrong if you're different in this respect. That's being ignorant. And to live a meaningful life and to live a very, I would say, abundant life and happy life, understanding people is a very important aspect of that. To understand yourself. And this phenomenon called love. Love is a very important thing too. Love. Love is something that a lot of people don't understand, but love is something that a lot of people overlook or take for granted. A lot of people take love for granted, and they think that other people are supposed to love them because they have something to give. They have value. You have value to give somebody else. So why aren't they giving you the value that you deserve? You don't know yourself. You're fixated on it because you don't know yourself. If you knew yourself, you wouldn't leverage love because it's something that you can't leverage, something that you can't purchase. It's something that is inside you. And some people relay love to be, I want unconditional love. I want an unconditional love. Well, love is unconditional. I would argue that love is in itself unconditional. It is a total acceptance of who somebody is or something is. Total acceptance without judgment. And it's something that other thing can't do anything to you to make you change your mind or the way you feel about that. Because love is unconditional without judgment and with total acceptance in a joyful way, in the most joyful way. It's admiration, pure admiration with pure acceptance and pure care, non-judgmental, without condition. That's what love is. I'll speak more about love in future videos, but if there's conditions on a relationship that you have, well, look, conditions are very important, but to take away your love from that individual, well, there was conditions, so you didn't have love. But I'm not saying that you have to have and continue a relationship with that person. You can very much love somebody. And I think I've known some people, and I, for which, was in a situation where I loved someone, but I understood that we weren't compatible. And it was mutually understandable. I respected that person, and they respected me, understanding that we're not right for each other. That person needs to go find their own way, and I need to find my own way. Because what we had was insufficient, and it was restrictive and unfortunate, unfair. It was an unfair exchange, but the opinions differed so much to where it would have persistently formed a toxic relationship that would have led to, I believe, the destruction of living a fruitful life and living a meaningful life at that. Sometimes you might get yourself into a situation where you love and respect somebody in a certain way. You might not like that person, but you love them, you have regard for them, and you care about their well-being. But understand that what you have between each other is no good to carry on an existence with being in a partnership. So you, in an adult way, in a very mature fashion, say, well, let's go our separate ways. You go your way and I go my way, because this isn't working out. I hope that you have a very good life. And that is a beautiful thing in itself. I would hope that more people would be this way, rather than, somebody being, and I think that people who don't do this are very selfish. Selfishness. If you're a selfish person, obviously you're not in touch with yourself. If you're a selfish person, you're trying to take as much as you can from the outside world, thinking that it is something that's going to bring you fulfillment. And very rarely does it ever do. That's because you're not considering yourself in the proper way that you need to. You're not loving on yourself. And one of the most unfortunate things here in the 21st century and in modern society, especially here in America, people don't love themselves, but they don't know that they don't love themselves, and they don't understand that that's one of the most important things in their life, but yet they're looking for fulfillment and they never find it. And that's why you have a lot of people that are in their elderly years and they say, you know what? I regret not spending the time that I should have with my family. I regret not being there for my daughter's 16th birthday, 15th birthday, her quinceañera, her graduation, her prom, her college graduation. Being there to take your daughter to her very first college campus and making sure the facilities are good enough for her. These kinds of things that are very important. Your daughter or son's first steps, first words, first birthday, first Christmas, whatever the case might be. You're not there because you're more concentrated on going out there and making as much money as you possibly can, to understand and realize later on that none of that really matters, because it's fleeting. Both time and money, the energy that you spent, is something that you can't get back. So you realize that none of that ever mattered, because it doesn't. What matters is the relationship you have with your loved ones. What matters is the relationship that you have with yourself in relation to them, because they are you and you are them. And developing these individuals into the person that they are, not the person that you want them to be. See, a lot of people who are in their elderly years realize that. The light bulb goes off, and then they realize that that was one of the most important things. But they didn't realize it until now. They're able to try to tell their children in reference to their grandchildren that's important. But we often hide our elderly away in these old homes. We don't respect our elderly enough. We don't respect our elderly enough. And we say, well, I don't have the time, the energy, or the money to take care of my father, my mother in their elder years. So your children don't develop a meaningful relationship with your parents. They live their lives and then to visit your parents, their grandparents, it's a very negative experience. Yeah. See, there are so many things wrong with this generation that when you go to other parts of the world, you see how they live and you can see the disconnect. You can see the direct disconnect that we have with ourselves. You can see the direct disconnect that we have with our own communities, our own tribes, our own families. There's this disconnect that we have. And it's the root of everything that's wrong. It's the root that everything is wrong with us in that way. And what essentially it does, it kills our culture. We're a much more strong culture if we celebrate our elderly and we celebrate our children. And we're able to spend those very important moments with our children, our grandchildren, and so on and so forth. Yeah. That everything is about the exchange of currency. Everything is about the exchange of money. And your status therein is predicated on how much money you make, what your salary is, what you have, what your house looks like, where your house is, what kind of car you drive, the material things that you have access to. It's a very exclusive culture in that way, where if you do not have that, you're trying like heck to get to that. You're trying like hell to get to that elevated status, to where now your words have relevance based off of the status that you hold in this society. That if you do not hold that status, then your words have no relevance. Look at you, you're nothing. Why do I want to listen to you? You have not. This is what we become. Back in ancient times, they would look at the chieftains. They would look at their elders for wisdom and guidance, knowledge. But now we look towards billionaires. We look towards millionaires to guide us, give us knowledge, and that we might be relevant in some sort of way and develop rapport with these individuals that's garnering us favor, that we can call in a favor for the favors that we give. Yeah. Everything is about leverage, you see. And that's exactly not where we need to be in society. That's because those people that are very much worried about all the universe outside themselves think that they can live happily and they can live meaningfully if they just follow this script, this program, this path. But they can't. They can do that, yes. How do I get to your position? And then when they get to that position, they realize that they're unhappy. And the reason is because they don't know themselves. The reason is they're not living their own life. They're not carving their own path. They didn't come up with themselves. They didn't build their own home. They didn't carve out a place to call their abode. They didn't create something that came from them. Maybe you sell shirts. Maybe you are a cobbler and like to repair shoes. It's a therapeutic thing. When you get yourself into a position where what you do is therapeutic, you've got there. You're there. It's therapeutic and you enjoy doing it, and the more you enjoy doing something, the more you do it, and the happier you are. And wealth is just a byproduct of that, because you're doing something that you like doing. But to forego something like that because you have access to people who are in law, and so you get your Juris Doctorate and you become that legal professional, but you love repairing and fixing shoes, you can't do that because you need to hold up appearances. You need to establish yourself in the society for other people, for your family, for the name of your family. And so you do so. And yes, you might have beautiful houses. Yes, you might drive beautiful cars. Yes, you might have access to a, beautiful spouse and, other people that you can hang around and share a drink with and go to the most exclusive, establishments money can buy. But then you're empty inside because you're not doing the one thing that makes you very happy. And you might talk about it with your peers and then look at you like, well, yeah, you can't make as much money, and being somebody with a Juris Doctorate has a title that is more well respected in this society, lest you become a cobbler. And it's funny. It might be funny to them, right? But if you were a cobbler, you'd be much happier. Living on the side of a mountain and having a shoe repair shop in town, and you make shoes, you've got your own brand, and you're very well proud of that. And other people love the shoes that you make because you spend time, attention, and care to your craft, and you give the world a little bit of happiness because these people love the shoes that you make and love how you repair their shoes and make better the shoes that they bought many years ago. It might be their favorite shoe, but you made it better. It might be their favorite boot, but you added your touch. And because of that, these people are walking around with comfortable feet and happier. You made people happy. You made people happy. You had an effect on your community, thus have an effect on the world in a positive way. But you're arguing in some sort of courtroom and charging a high amount of money, trying to defend people from having their lives destroyed. And it's argument after argument, and you're trying to win every argument, chasing that number, chasing those credentials. All but one day you have a bad day and you make a mistake. You might have won 100 battles, but it's that one that you lose that everybody remembers. Set yourself outside of that, if you will, and live your own life. Imagine what that would do. You might make a mistake with a shoe, but you finally fix it to that customer's expectations, he is still going to leave satisfied. It's a dog eat dog world. If you don't know yourself, if you don't love yourself, if you don't have a relationship with yourself, it's for nothing. Your life and the existence that you live is meaningless. But just hearing people say, have a relationship with yourself, love yourself. It sounds weird in this society. And not only does it sound weird, but it has that very, very selfish connotation to it. And it's unfortunate. Because that used to be something that was well regarded in society at one point. Loving yourself, understanding who you are. People go to great lengths to try to get other people to understand that one virtue that's above everything else. And people used to have such a very good relationship between each other. And they would build communities, and they would be as one. And they'd be very strong in their resolve. And they would meet every season with serious vigor, but with respect for themselves and other people, in regard for other people's lives. It's a lot of things that we're missing in today's society that we don't have now, that we don't realize we're missing. And so the search continues, and the adventure continues. But what if one knew themselves? Would they be so inclined to have that adventure? But I would argue absolutely more so, because you'd be very thirsty to immerse yourself in other cultures, realizing that you're all the same, that you're all one, that we're resonating off the same universal consciousness, having our own human experiences together, and enjoying the differences, the comparisons and contrasts between you and those other people. And so when you're doing that, you appreciate yourself, you're able to appreciate other people likewise. See, all these wars and things like that, and I'll speak more in depth to understand these things. I'll speak more in depth into them. But when you realize how much attention that we're spending on developing an adversary and trying to control them, trying to annex other societies and cultures, so that the richest amongst us can reap the rewards and benefits under the guise of defending freedom and democracy. Because if you don't, these people will try to take that from you. And they live on the other side of the world. You'll understand how ridiculous this society is, and the people therein who support such things, how ridiculous it is. Because it is ridiculous. And if we understand ourselves, we can better understand each other. Because we'll realize that we are the same, but just different in our experience. And we have very similar virtues, but there are many contrasts that we can appreciate because of the difference. We're not so homogenized. And the fact that we're not so homogenized makes the diversity between people and cultures so enjoyable and so new, and so much there to discover outside ourselves and where we usually reside. Life is so colorful. And it's that difference in colorful. It's that contrast that you discover new things every day if you open your mind to, and you're not so cut off to other ideas and different ways of thinking. So really, what I want to tell you at the end of this is discover yourself. Be a participant in your own life. Think about the journey that you already walked. Look at where you are now and try to understand and have a goal to where you want to be eventually. And really, the most important part of that adventure is getting to greener pastures where you're more happy and love is very much a part. Love is something that is the goal. Love and happiness and understanding, contentment, meaning, and fulfillment. And that life is hard. There are going to be ups and downs and many emotions associated with. And we're going to lose people. But appreciating your existence here on this earth and the existence of other people and cherishing that existence and feeling all the emotions that there are to feel and embracing those emotions and letting them gild you, letting them mold you and harden your resolve and being a better person so that your experience, your knowledge and wisdom can carry on to the next generation. And if we can do that, we will be very, very much better people, and we can evolve in certain ways as a society in this world. And hopefully, and perhaps, that we can come to a time where we can bridge the gap between nature and our synthesis, so we can control our own destiny and not have to worry about outside influences to exploit us, our resources, both time and energy. Because that time and energy needs to be spent on us and the people that we love directly, and the people around us, and form communities. Communities where we have an identity, where people look to us with care, love, and respect. These are the things that they try to hold from you. These are the things that they don't want you to see. They don't want you to see these things because they want your attention and they want it for themselves so they can exploit it, and you can concentrate your life to their abundance, because ultimately and truthfully, that's what's going on today. And it's all about them. No, your life is all about you. So I want you to think about that. Thank you for being on my channel. Thank you for listening if you got this far. And if this has gotten you anywhere and given you meaning and perspective, you can go ahead and subscribe if you want and thumbs up this video. And there's more to come. There's more to come. And I only just got started, really. So these are the things that I've noticed in my life that's helped my life live. Live it to the fullest, regardless of whatever situation I find myself, even good or bad. We'll all have that. But as long as we're content within ourselves, understand that I am a very important part, most important part of my own life. And I don't want your love unless you love yourself, because whatever love you can give to me is insufficient because you don't love yourself. So your love is not very true and it's not very powerful. So I implore you to start loving yourself. Do something for yourself this week. If it's taking yourself to a restaurant or perhaps get a massage, get a foot rub, maybe get a facial, pedicure, manicure, whatever the case might be, whatever makes you happy, even if it's just swimming. All right, with that, guys, I hope you guys have a very good week and really think about yourself. Some time for yourself this week. All right, peace.